word and letting you know that I'm about to do it, but you're so caught up on who you once were.
Yes, sir. Come on now.
Y'all don't believe me? Look at Gideon. Gideon started talking about himself. He said that I don't have the best family. We're not the best family. I'm the youngest. I'm not nothing because I'm nobody, because we broke. We don't have nothing as my family, and I'm the youngest one, so I'm not nobody. But God says you stop looking at what you used to be and see what I'm about to use you for and who I'm about to take you into being. See, it's funny that every week God keeps taking us back to the fact that we got to stop looking behind us and start looking forward.
Come on now.
There's too many folk in here that God's trying to get you to see that I'm about to elevate you. Stop going the wrong direction and look ahead of you at what I'm about to take you to.
Yes.
Messenger of God had already told him that God is going to use you. Matter of fact, he tells him, he says, God, go in strength and save Israel from the Midianites. And then Gideon starts to make excuses again. He starts to talking about, my family is the least. I'm the youngest of my father's house. And the angel of the Lord says to him, for sure I will be with you and you will destroy the Midianites. So God was redefining Gideon. And so many may have called him a fearful man. Some folk might have looked at him and said that he complained a lot. Some of him would say that he made excuses. Some of him would say that he from the country. Some of them would say that he was always broke. Some of them would say his mama wasn't nothing. Some of them would say that his daddy wasn't nothing. But God says that I got a whole lot in you. Don't worry about what other people say. Am I right about it this morning? There's some of you in here right now. Can I just talk and be real with you this morning? That some folk have said some stuff about you. Can I be real with you this morning? Can I be real transparent with you this morning? God will redefine you no matter what your background may have been.
Yes, sir.
God can take you and he can use you to perform a great work, and he will change your whole life and use you to glorify him. That's why you see folk that were once was pimps but now preachers. See, y'all know that's the ones we talked about right there. Y'all, he was a pimp. How he gonna preach to me? But God wouldn't let him go through all that he went through.
Yes, sir.
So that he have a testimony to tell everybody else. Am I right about it? Oh no, he was a drug head. He was on drugs. He was an alcoholic. How he gonna tell me anything about God? Because God delivered him and he could deliver you too. Am I right about it this morning? God will redefine you and take you from what you used to be and make you into something greater than what you were before. Am I right about it this morning? God has some redefining moments in our lives, but we got to be listening and ready for when God gives instruction. God says, I'm about to redefine you. Get ready to see it happen and get ready for me to perform the work. Too many of us are still up under the oak tree like Gideon was. At least Gideon got up and he began to do and he began to work. Some of us are still sitting there. God's been calling you. He's been calling you. He's been calling you, and you still sitting. Let me show you how God works though. God has the ability that when he gets tired of calling you, then he'll make you come to him. I know I'm right about that because he did it to me. God would, you can run, but you can't hide. Because God has the ability to turn you around and send you running right back to him. We got to get up from under the old tree and see that God is about to do some work in our life. God has had some redefining moments in our lives. Let me tell y'all how I know that that's true. When I was making my notes for this sermon, God brought back to my mind how he began to work some years before I started preaching. I remember we were living here in Arlington, and I was going to my dad's church, and got married, had a kid and all. So y'all know when we get a little bit on our own, think we're grown and all that, you start skipping church. Am I right about it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so what I found out is that in my time of absence that I began to fall away. But what God began to do is he began to do some work behind the scenes and began to have me to put in a place where I didn't have no choice but to do what he had called me to do. So here we are. We're living in Arlington. My wife says, well, they having a job fair down in Waco. I think we need to move back to Waco. So I told her, I said, well, if you can get a job, then we'll move back. Show y'all how God do. We get there. She goes in to apply. I don't want to sit in the car. So I go in, I fill out the application, sitting at the table next to her and talking to her at the table and whatever, and give the application in. They call me back and give me an interview. So I think it's all said and done. I think it's over with. I think that, oh, okay, well, they didn't call me. They didn't offer me the job then. But 3 months later, they called me back and asked me to come back in June of 2003. But what I didn't realize when I was sitting here working on the message, God said, you hadn't realized what I was doing way back then. God says, I had introduced you to the place that I needed to place you. And so that where you are now, where you were, began the whole process of placing you are where you are now. Didn't make sense? Let me say it again. He said, I began the process of elevating you to the place that you are now, way back then. So back in 2003, I didn't catch the fact that God was getting ready to elevate me to the place that I'm in now. God was using all the mess, everything that I had gone through to get to the place that he had me in 2003 to get me to where I am in 2019. Did y'all catch that? So my redefining moment took place in 2003. But let me help you with somebody real quick and let somebody know something else. But at that same time, God was getting me ready to start walking in the ministry. God had to take me away from my daddy and put me under somebody that was going to challenge me to grow and to be what God had called me to be. See, I couldn't remain under my father and be who I needed to be because my daddy was going to be easy on me. But my father-in-law was hard on me. He made me teach Bible study, Sunday school. He got on me, study your word, go learn something. That's what he caused me to do. See, God had two defining moments at one time back in 2003. January 2004, I was preaching my first sermon. Not even 6 months later. But can I even go a step further? God will confirm what he is getting you to do. On your redefining moments, he will confirm that he's about to redefine your life. Can I tell y'all, can I just help y'all this morning? And so what I found out as I was writing my notes, God took me back. He said, you remember that right before you had to redefine the moment and you stepped into the ministry. He says, remember you had a dream. That your grandmother and this long line of people were lined up and they all had on white clothes. Now remember, I don't remember my grandmother because when she died I was a little boy. But in that dream, I knew exactly what my grandmother looked like. I remember her voice. I remember everything because God was using her to tell me that I had a work to do. A redefining moment.
Come on now.
And what God did is he took everything and he changed it around so that he can get me to where I was going. But check this out. This is what messed me up. The Holy Spirit messed me up. He says, I had to even get you away from your mama so that you can hear what I was telling you. Because my mama was my speaker. I can tell mama, I need you to pray for me. I need you to talk to God about my situation. When I got away, I had to do it for myself. And when I started doing it for myself, then I began to hear God. It was a redefining moment. God is trying to get somebody to understand. All right now. That I'm doing some redefining in your life. I'm rearranging some stuff in your life. But you got to be willing to hear me and to walk into a next place in your life. And the place that you're going into is not going to be a place of comfort.
Come on now.
No. Because comfort is not what God needs you to be. He don't want you to be comfortable. He needs you to be uncomfortable so that you can do a work that is a new and a radical work. See, old stuff has gone. God says, I'm about to do a new thing. So, I'm going to mess with some folk. Y'all just forgive me. I'm just going to give it to you like he told me. God says that I've been calling some folk to do some work. and they not moving.
Come on now.
And he says that I've been calling and you ain't listening. I've been moving, but you ain't watching. He says, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to cause you either to fall away or to fall in line. And he said that I need you to hear the call that I've had on your life and stop running, because the enemy is the reason why you're running. The enemy has convinced you that you are not worth the call that God has placed on your life. But let me help somebody real quick. The reason he don't want you to walk in that calling, because he know what God is about to do through you. God says, I'm about to elevate you to a place that I'm going to release such an anointing over you and over some people, but all you got to do is learn to walk. Look at your neighbor and say, baby, you got to learn to walk. You got to learn to walk. You got to learn to walk. It's people that have been fearful because of what the enemy is doing and what he has whispered in your ear. Let me tell you, he tried to get me too. He told me you can't talk right. You had to take speech classes as a baby. Folks make fun of you because you talk funny. I started preaching. Preachers got mad at me and started talking about me, mistreat me, put my name out there, try to scandalize my name, and try to, just make me look bad in front of folks. But let me tell you what they did. Every time they pushed me down, God pushed me up. That's what I like about it right there. Every time they tried to convince people, well, he's not going to be able to do nothing. He's not going to do this or that. He hadn't been to seminary yet. He hadn't done this yet. But when God has his anointing on you, God will give you a fresh word that you don't have to go back and look at other people's writing. That he will reveal some new and creative stuff through you. Look at your neighbor and say, God will do a new thing. I've been places that after I left, I got word that the preacher didn't want me to come back, because while you were there, you were showboating. You were up there doing all that. No, because the anointing that God has on me, I can't help but to give him my best. Anything less is not my best. And so what I've learned to do, that when I preach, when I stand before him and sing, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to give God my best. I tell you, I hadn't been invited back to some places, not because I didn't preach like God told me to, because the pastor didn't like the folk, didn't like the fact that the folk were coming to me and saying that I sure enjoy the way you preach. I sure enjoy the way that you got the Holy Spirit. We need that around here. And see, what the problem is when you don't have the power of God and you just up there, then you have issues. But when God has put you through the process of redefining you, he will allow you to be elevated to a certain level, and he can use you for a great work. Look at your neighbor and say, he elevating, he elevating, he elevating. I have a problem with us not walking in what God is telling us to walk in. Because it always comes to my mind that when we don't do what God has called us to do, then we are delaying what he's trying to do. Think about the children of Israel. God had got them right there, but because they were not obedient, because they did not have faith, they found out that they ended up missing it. That generation missed the whole promised land. And some of us going to miss the promise because we are being just tricked by the enemy of God.
Come on now.
Look at your neighbor and say, baby, don't be tricked. Don't be tricked. I'll probably get to this point this morning. I'm going to stay on this point for a minute. My mom would tell y'all that as a little boy, Sister Amanda, I was shy. Wouldn't talk to nobody. Wouldn't do nothing for myself. I was real shy. Then on top of that, I had no issues with my words. I couldn't, I wasn't perfect. And so the enemy's trying to use that against me as I grew up. And because of my ability, my lack of being able to speak correctly and my shyness, I found myself being by myself a whole lot.
Yes, sir.
But what I realize now is what the enemy was trying to do to me is that he was trying to get me to think that nobody liked you because you can't talk right, and then you wasn't right to do anything that God has called you to do. Watch this. And so when God called me to preach, the enemy immediately got in my head and says, how are you going to explain what God is giving you to people when they can't understand what you're saying? Right. Let me show you what God did. God gave me the ability that when I preach, I can talk clearly. Y'all remember Aaron? Aaron had to talk for Moses. God says, I'm going to give you a 2-for-1. I'm going to give you that other voice that when you're around folk and you get nervous and you start studying your word, that's okay. But when I place you before your people and I put my anointing on you, you will be able to speak clearly and be able to be understood because of the words I have put in you.
It's good.
Redefining. He's redefining. All my life, Bree, it seems that God has been separating. When other kids, I told y'all this before, on the bus listening to Tupac, they listening to Biggie. I'm listening to Frank Williams and Mississippi Mass Choir. I'm listening to Kirk Franklin. I'm listening to Greg O'Quinn. I'm listening to all, and they making fun of me. Church boy. Church boy, you gonna pray for us? You gonna shout on the bus? Making fun of me. But what God was doing is he said, I can't have you to be like them. He says, I have to separate you for a purpose. He says, because I'm redefining who you are. I have to recalibrate you and get you to where I need you to be. He says, you got some stuff in your life that I need to remove before I can get you to where you're going. He said, I need to work on you where I got you by yourself. There's some folk in here that he said, I'm working on where I got you by yourself. That's the reason why you can't be friends with somebody. That's the reason why you don't have a big circle. That's the reason why everybody don't like hanging with you. That's the reason, because he is working on you and he's redefining you and making you into who he wants you to be. Let me hump this thing off right here. So I began to think as I was writing down these notes about the fact that I had to get a new tire yesterday. And what I found, the reason I had to get a new tire is because when I got in the car and began to drive, the wheel began to. And so as I would go down the highway, the faster I went, the worse. And what I found out is that when I got to the place to change the tire, that when we turned the wheel and we looked on the inside of the wheel, all of the wires were sewn on the inside of the wheel, but the outside of the wheel looked just fine. Holy Spirit messed with me right there. He said, because what looks good on the outside ain't always good on the inside. He said, because they out of line. I wish I had somebody. Because when you're out of line, you can't flow like you need to flow. Am I right about it this morning? And so as he took the tire off and he began to work with the tires, I saw what he began to do. He took the new wheel and he took the new tire and he put it on the wheel. He put it on the machine and the machine began to spin. And as it spin, he took out some weights and he put it on the wheel. And when he put it on there, the wheel began to move smoothly because the weight that had been placed on it. Hold on, let me help somebody real quick. God had to place some weight on you so that you'll be able to flow like you need to flow. God says I had to put some weight on you because I had to recalibrate you so that you will flow like you need to flow. Let me help somebody. So when I got back in the car, they didn't have to do this one wheel, but they put 2 new wheels on the front. And when I got in the car, well, Pat, when I hit the gas, my old girl, she got up, she said, whoa. Because when you got something new in your life, it will have you to have a new walk, a new talk, a new way of living. When God has changed your life, and he's been recalibrating who you are, and he's been working on what you are. Look at somebody say, he's working on me. Look at somebody say, he's working on me. Sister Amanda, he began to take my mind back. He said back in December, I began to recalibrate some stuff. He said I had to change some stuff. He said I had to move some stuff. He said that you've been praying for me to do some elevation. He said I had to change your heart. I had to change your mind. That you will walk in the way that I called you to walk. And when he recalibrated me, I began to see some newness in my life. Because God had changed me in my life. And now what I found out is that what God has placed in me has been magnified and taken a little step higher because of what he had done back in December. Recalibration. But watch what he's doing. I don't want to preach too much on the message, but let me help y'all real quick. God's trying to, he let me know, he said that what I'm about to do through you required me to do some shifting in you. So that when I fulfill the promise that I gave you, you'll be ready to receive what I promised you.
Right.
And so what he's been doing is he's been saying, okay, I need you to become a stronger leader, so let me tweak this. I need you to become a stronger preacher, so let me tweak this. I need you to become stronger in your home, let me do this. And so as he's been doing this and that, I feel like the $1 million man. He's been changing some stuff in me.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like I'm walking taller. I feel like I'm a little bit lighter now.
Yeah.
I feel like my outlook is a little bit brighter now.
Yeah.
Because of what God has been doing in me. What I'm trying to get somebody to understand this morning is that God is recalibrating you so that this next season in your life, you will be able to walk in it, in your purpose, and what he called you to walk in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's it.
So, this calibration thing has me, I'm not going to say confused, but it has me at a place of awe. Because if he's recalibrating me, and I had anointing back then, and he's tweaking what's in me now, this next level of anointing has to be out of this world.
Yes, sir.
And can I tell you something? God messed me up. He said that's the reason you went through all the hell you went through for the past few years. Because the enemy saw that I was giving you some new defining moments in your life. I was taking you to another place. So I need y'all to understand, and I'm done right there,
Yes, sir.
that all you are going through is God giving you a redefining. He's redefining, he's calibrating you.
Yes, sir.
And he's getting you ready. See, the enemy see what God is about to do. He sees what God is about to release. And so he's got to fight you in every way that he can. But God says, just know that you're in the process
Yes,
of
sir.
being recalibrated. Look at your neighbor, say, he's recalibrating you. He's recalibrating you. That's what he's doing. He's got you at a place of recalibration. So this morning, those of you that know you're in the process, and matter of fact, maybe you don't know that you're in the process, but you know you've been going through a lot. You know, just like me, the enemy's been talking to you. He's been telling you, well, because of your past, well, you're not good enough. Well, because of your mama and your dad and them, because of the hurt, because of the pain, but God is saying, I can use you just as you are. Let me do the fixing. Let me do the tweaking this morning. So this morning, if that's you this morning, I invite you to meet me at the altar. If that's you this morning, maybe you already know, maybe you know that he's calling you, and maybe you know that he's beckoning you for a greater purpose. I'm asking you to come to the altar this morning.